We are all unique and have our own personal story. So dive in with me and let's get to know some extraordinary people. Hey guys, welcome to Dive In with Amy. This week, we were able to dive in deep with my sister-in-law, Rachel Riter, a true feminist and an inspiration. And I have to say, my daughters are extremely fortunate to have her as their aunt and a role model. Let's just dive on in. All righty, Rachel.
Are we really?
We're going to dive in. Welcome to my podcast. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, my darling sister-in-law.
Yes.
All right, you ready to dive in?
I am so ready.
I'm going to start with a question for you.
Okay.
If you could work in any library in the entire world, which library would you choose?
I mean, there's a million, like, you could do the Pixar archives and things like that, but honestly,
Any library.
I want to work for SUNY Purchase because it's an hour outside of New York City and it's a small liberal arts college, and I think it's just the perfect little place to live.
Did you say SUNY Purchase?
Yeah, so
Is that a public library?
No, it's an academic, so it's the State Universities of New York, so it's their system, so it's, you know, there's SUNY Rochester and just basically anything that's not New York City is part of the SUNY system, and it's SUNY Purchase, and it's it's an hour outside of New York City, so just take the train in, and that's where I would like to live my life.
That's why that's where you want to live.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the end goal. That's where you want to end up.
Yeah. I mean, you could work for the Library of Congress or all these great and ostentatious libraries, but honestly, it's a small little liberal arts college that has the perfect location that seems really appealing to me.
So what are you currently doing? What do you work as now?
I am an academic librarian at LDS Business College, so I'm reference and instruction. So I help in the English 101 classes, teaching information literacy, which is how you how you evaluate that you need information, how you evaluate that information, how you judge it, if you should include it in your paper and or post it on Facebook or not, and then how you actually use that information. So what do you do with it?
Okay, I want to dive in. Why a librarian? Why?
My undergrad is in history, and there's literally nothing you can do with a history degree besides teach. And I didn't necessarily want to teach high schoolers because they're awful. And so while I was on an LDS mission, and I thought of going to library school a lot. And then when I got home, one of my roommates went to library school, and she's like, "You'll love it." And I'm like, "I do love books. I should go." And then I realized there's a whole lot more to it, but I still love it.
So this isn't something that you always dreamt of being?
No, not at all. When I graduated from BYU Hawaii with my bachelor's, I deliberately remember saying, "I'm never going to grad school. This was bad enough." And then I went to grad school.
And you were awesome at it. You breezed through that.
Yeah, I tried. I did it in a year and a half, so that was good.
Wow. While working full time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So remind me of the town outside of New York.
Purchase.
Mm-hmm. You said you want to live your life there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rachel, you're young. You're 26 years old.
27. I'm an old lady.
Oh, please. You just turned 27. I feel like you're just starting your life.
Yeah.
I look back at 27. That was a good year. I feel like between 25.
Is that when you married David?
That's when I married my husband, your brother. I feel like I really got to know myself the years between 23 to 27 is when I really came into my own. I was just having the time of my life. Those were great years. These are great years I'm in now. Don't get me wrong. Love them.
You're carrying a tooth in your wallet, so it does sound great.
Yes, I am carrying my daughter's tooth that she lost at the Mexican restaurant last night in my wallet so she can put it under her pillow. Okay, so those are very formative years. They're fun. They're exciting. I feel like you're young, but you've already started your career. You know what you want to do, but you've got your whole life ahead of you. Okay, your life outside of New York City, talk to me. I want to dive in. What does it look like? What do you want, Rachel? What do you want in life other than being a librarian?
That is so great. So I'm trying to figure out, Amy, can we dive into more superficial things, please?
Nope, dive. Dig deep, honey.
I don't know. I'm kind of deciding what I want, whether, because, you know, you always imagined you'd be married with kids by now, and, like, that's not in the it's not happening right now. And so I think I need to be more ambitious with what I do want. And so instead of just being a librarian, can I go into leadership opportunities? So managers and directors and things like that. So not settling and just waiting for things to happen, but being in a space where, you know what, I can take on more. So I'm going to take on more and not wait for, you know, something like marriage to happen. I'm going to be more ambitious than I originally planned.
Good for you. Now, do you feel pressure not being married? I mean, do you feel a lot of pressure to get married being in the Mormon culture where it's very common for ladies to get married at a very young age?
I don't feel pressure to get married because I'm not going to settle for some loser because I know what I want.
And you're better than that.
Yeah, for real. I'm the best.
A little cocky.
No, I'm not the best. It's fine.
You are.
I think it's the lack that I'm judged, that I'm not married, that bothers me more, that I'm not taken as seriously or I'm looked down upon because, well, she's not good enough to get married, so she must be not good at anything at all. You know, it's just that negative connotation that comes with it.
Right. Do you feel sometimes that people pity you because you're not married?
Yeah, a lot. I have students that they're younger than me and married and feel that they have the right to argue with me because they think they're in more of an authoritative place because they're married. And I'm like, listen, bro, you don't even have your associates yet. So please do not lecture me about these things. So they think they're at a better place in life because they're married. But I think knowledge comes in a lot of different forms.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
they might be more advanced in the marriage realm, but I am in the professional academic world. So.
Yeah. And I think I've talked to you about this before, but I remember, I mean, I was 27 when I got married, and that is considered old.
Yeah. Old lady.
Old lady, right? And I remember feeling that, like, oh my gosh, I'm an old maid. I'm 27 and I'm not married. And I remember talking to people, running into people at a wedding reception. I remember a lady from our hometown asked me, oh, are you married? No. Oh, I'm sorry. You'll find your person. Your turn will come. And I was like, listen, lady, I'm not worried. I'm having the time of my life. In fact, at that point, I didn't want to get married till I was 30, but I couldn't pass up the right one. Yeah. So when he came along, obviously, I got married. Yeah. But I know that feeling, Rachel, and it's annoying. So
yeah, I never go to my parents' ward when I come home to visit because I don't want people to ask me about that because it feels like it downplays all my other accomplishments. But at the same time, I'm 27, but I don't feel like I'm old in a sense, or like I just barely have the best, you know, mental health that I've had in a long time. So like I finally feel like ready, and that is something that I want because I like myself more than I ever have at this stage in my life. So I'm more willing and prepared for it than I've ever been, you know, like, because I like myself. And I think that's a really big accomplishment.
That's huge. And I feel that a lot of people think, oh, as soon as I get married, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to have that person that's going to make me happy. If you're not happy with yourself, there's no way in hell you're going to be happy in a marriage because marriage is hard. Yeah. It is hard. It's awesome, but it's hard. But you're your own agent and you want to be identified as you, right? You don't need to have a spouse to feel fulfilled, right? Or just to feel validated. Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned you're in your strongest mental health in ages. Do you mind diving into that a little bit?
Yes. Not a big deal. I've had, you know, self-image issues my whole life. I'm kind of a chubby girl, and that's fine. I grew up with certain people telling me that if I lost weight, I'd be faster when I played soccer, you know, because my sister's really petite and we just have completely different body structures. Yeah. That if I, you know, was skinny like Millie, or I didn't mean to say her name. Sorry, Millie.
We know you love Millie. She's a doll.
No, but just constantly being compared to her when she has such a different body shape than I do. Right. You know, it's very damaging to your self-esteem and your psyche and stuff. Yeah. And so even like at my skinniest in high school when I was playing soccer and running cross country, like I thought I was such a whale and that boys didn't like me because of the way I looked. But this year I read Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. I know there's like controversy with that book, but the first 2 chapters are really about confidence, and that really helped. Defying Greatly, I can't remember the author, but it's about shame and guilt and letting things go. And then Girl Wash Your Face that Amy suggested. And not all of it was applicable to me, but when she talked about that you keep commitments to your friends, you should keep, and you're your best friend. So you need to keep your commitments to yourself. And just those 3 books really just like, I should love myself and be happy no matter what. And just my confidence comes from me. And so those books were the most helpful out of anything that I've ever read.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so great. It's awesome. And you're fantastic. But let's go back to that. So you said you've always been a little chubbier, which I've seen pictures of you. I don't feel that, but that's how you felt, right?
Yeah.
That's how you've perceived yourself.
In high school, I was not chubby. Currently, I am chubby.
Well,
and that is
join
fine.
the club. Join the club. But you know what? We're happy.
I walked 4
That's
miles
okay.
today. It's
Good
fine.
for you. Good for
New
you.
Year's resolution.
So, but you mentioned things that people said to you growing up, and those things are damaging, those statements, and they stick with you. I'll share a story. This is my own grandmother, okay? So we would go up and visit my grandparents in the summer in Idaho. And do you remember those old school popsicles that have the double popsicles with the 2 sticks, right? So you get the single one but the double. I remember going out in the freezer, and my grandma would give all the grandkids double popsicles. She would give me and Sarah a half one. We only got a half one because we were chubby, okay? And that always just made us feel like this small in terms of confidence. Obviously, this big in terms of our body image, right? But I'm telling you, that was damaging. There were things that were said to me and actions that like impacted my self-esteem and made me feel this small. And unfortunately, I just don't have very favorable memories of this particular set of grandparents because of, she'd put plastic covers over the bed, just assume we're going to pee the bed, right? I mean, it's just like, we just feel stupid and small. Yeah. But it starts at such a young age and those little things. And in me, as a mother of 2 little girls, I am now just like, sometimes I'm a reactor. I get heated and I say stupid shit sometimes. And so I have to be very careful at what I say and just little comments to my daughters. And I like to think that I haven't said anything too damaging yet, but maybe I have. I just think it's just you just have to be so careful because those words, what's that saying? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will always hurt. Won't break my bones, whatever.
Sticks and stones can't break my bones, but words will always hurt me.
Something like that. You get the point, right? You get the point.
The Rihanna song goes through my head. Like, no, it's a different thing. Never mind. Continue.
Alrighty. Is it a dirty thing?
Yes.
Oh, well, we'll get to that later. So that'll be fun. We'll dive in there. Okay. So anyway, but I get that. And it starts from your childhood and you hang on to things. Rachel, you and I have talked about just in recent days, just our mental health. And we've both gone through some things. I think everybody does. But I was telling you that over the last probably 6 months, I have started seeing a therapist. And that has been the best thing I've done in my life. And I wish I would have gone a lot sooner. It's just been very eye-opening. It's been very humbling. It's been heavy at times, but it's also been very liberating and great. So you talk about your mental health and you're in a great spot and a lot of it's from what you've read, but have you considered going to therapy? And you can tell me it's none of your damn business, Amy.
It's none of your damn business. No, just kidding. I was texting my friend today a couple days ago and I was like, I think I want to go to therapy. She's like, I've been thinking the same thing, to the point where I've looked up therapists. There's bookmark on my phone. I can show you. They're right there.
Very good.
Today.
Nice.
Just because I do have some anger and also I feel a little helpless. There's a lot of things in the world that I don't agree with and I don't know how to help. And so I feel a lot of help. I feel helpless. And so, talking to a third outside party of what can I do to make, alleviate this anger and how can I be more helpful to, inspire change or to, make it feel like I am making a difference is always a good thing. So I have already looked up therapists. Okay. Thank you.
No, that's good. And I'm not sitting here thinking telling you should go to therapy, but
No, the books that you suggested, I am on hold for the library with.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Which is Boundaries. That's a really good book. Okay. Give me an example. You say you feel helpless. Why do you feel helpless? And can you give me an example on one particular issue or topic, that you're referring to, just in this world?
Yes. So I just read the book, Missoula, Rape in the Justice System in a Small Town. And so it's about a lot of rapes that are happening at the University of Missoula in Montana, and that how these girls didn't know that they were being sexually assaulted. These boys didn't think there was anything wrong with it. The police had, it's by John Krakauer. He also did Into the Thin Air about Everest. That's just the author. And it's just, there's so much that I want to help with that, either education and empowering women. Like, if, something happened, this is what you can do. Even if you don't want to go to the police, this is where you can go to get help. And then educating men that we're not these things for you to use or, degrade. But it's to be treated as equals. Like on my water bottle, I have teach consent culture and consent, because a lot of the times I don't think they understand what consent is. When I am teaching my students and they have touchscreen computers, I always ask, can I touch your computer? Because that is a form of consent. I'm not touching them and I'm not assaulting them, but it's still their property that I need to ask their permission for. Yeah. And so I think, there's so many times in the news, a guy just raped a girl and he only had to pay $400, and he had to, that doctor who sexually assaulted his patient, and he, he got suspended, but he didn't have to go to jail for anything like that. And so you feel helpless because there's these terrible things happening, and you want to help, whether it's empowering women and men to be able, to use their voices and seek help, or to, educate the people who are, the predators, and being like, no, this, they need to pay the consequences for what they've done. Right. So just not being able to know what to do can be really frustrating to want to be involved in stuff like that.
So you are a very busy person. You work full time, but you tend to volunteer a lot. I know you've volunteered and worked with immigrants and helped people build their resumes. Have you ever thought about going out and helping women in these particular circumstances? Rape,
yes. So there's
victims.
I submitted my information for the Utah Domestic Violence Association or something like that. So I've submitted my application there. And then there's a rape recovery organization in Utah. It's part of RAIN, which is like rape and incest and stuff. But their application's really intense, and they have scenarios that I haven't finished working on yet. So
that's heavy.
Yeah. You have to do a 40-hour training to be a part of it and stuff. And so I'm working on it.
Okay, I was going to issue you the challenge to get out there and do something. Just, even if it's just something, it may seem simple to a lot of people, just volunteering a few hours a week at the Rape Recovery Center or whatnot. But the impact that you could have on these people is going to be astounding, and just the impact you'll have on yourself. You know what I mean? Knowing that you are doing something. Yeah. You feel helpless. You are doing something. Do you think that could also help? You said you've felt a lot of anger. Now, I'm not saying you've not been raped. I know that's not where your anger stems from, but do you mind diving into that a little bit?
Yeah.
And how you're trying to cope with that?
Well, I'm not coping with it right now.
So
it's just there right now.
It's there. Anger. Okay. Do you mind me asking why the anger?
Because I think there's certain people in charge that shouldn't be in charge. And I think things are really slow moving. And so the frustration and anger go hand in hand. So it might be more frustrated, but then I have a temper, so it turns to anger.
Yeah. So people being in charge, example, are we talking about, politically?
Yes. We'll say politically for now.
So obviously there's more.
Yeah.
Let's dive. Rachel, you don't come on Dive with Amy and stop at that. And we're going to say politically for now. So just all around. In your workplace, maybe?
Yeah, in my workplace.
Your place of worship. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but...
No, but just to be safe, let's focus on politically.
Okay. And that's been very disheartening for you.
Yeah. Because with the whole Brett Kavanaugh thing, how women were saying... and men were saying, what about the men? These good men are being, torn apart. And you're like, are you joking me right now? Like, the people who are human trafficked are women and children, and you're claiming the victim right now when you have no right to be. And so it's just, There's a post on Instagram that's like, all I want for Christmas is eternal life for Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
with Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes. So, yeah, I hope she doesn't die.
Oh, I do too.
We need her.
Oh, at least not for the next 6 years.
Shout out, if you have Hulu, watch the Ruth Bader Ginsburg documentary.
I still have not seen that. And I still want to go see the new movie out about her as well.
That's what it is. The documentary on Hulu, that's
right.
what the movie was.
Okay, so let's talk about Ruth. Okay, Ruth, one particular person that has been a positive influence on you.
Yes.
So whenever you're feeling down and discouraged and helpless, do you tend to kind of look for inspirational people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg? I mean, look what she's accomplished living in this world. Are there any other women, and it could be men too, that you look up to and that just kind of give you a little glimpse of hope for humanity?
That is a fantastic question. Yes, Cheiko Okazaki. I'm not saying her name right.
Okay.
She was in the Relief Society presidency in the 70s.
Oh, okay. Is she the little Japanese lady?
Yeah. Yep. I think she's fabulous because she asked the right questions and wasn't afraid to use her voice. Mm-hmm. I think she is very inspirational and did a lot for women in the church.
Can you give us an example of a question that she would ask?
Yes. So then, like in the 70s and 80s, that's when they were really starting to not unionize, but standardize is the word I'm looking for. Standardize like church manuals and stuff like that. So just making it, since we're more of a global church then, they were making it more uniformed.
Right.
And so when they were making lesson plans and stuff, she's like, why aren't the women consulted in this? And so they're planning all of these things that are going to go out throughout the whole world. And she's like, why aren't the women involved? Why aren't you involving us in this? Because we have insight and are, full of revelation just as the men are. And so she's like, why aren't you considering us on this?
Yeah.
And I think that's really brave of her to
Absolutely.
do that. And so that's where are the women, I think is what she said specifically. And I think that's amazing. Like, where are they? Why aren't they considered in this?
That's awesome. So do you find, okay, so you're in a good mental health
This sounds a little bit of anger.
Well, I think we all have things that we...
Frustration. Let's call it frustration.
Frustration, anger. You don't have to shy away from anger. You be honest, be real, be true to yourself. We all have some to an extent. But it makes me happy to see you in a good spot.
Yeah.
You've read these books. Are there any other things that you've done lately to gain confidence?
No, not necessarily. Being in Utah, it's cold and it's snowy right now, so I don't get to go outside. So ever since I've been home, I go on walks every day because I like being in the sunshine. Because being in the sunshine always makes me feel better, and exercising makes me feel better. I will deny it till the day I die, but exercising does make me happier.
Yeah.
It's the worst, but it's good for me.
It's good. Yeah, it's hard to get into the groove.
Yeah.
Do you miss playing soccer? You played soccer tell us, you played soccer growing up.
Yes. So I played all the way up to college. So I played soccer for 1 year at SVU before I transferred to BYU Hawaii.
Okay.
So I grew up playing soccer my entire life. And so I had to shift how I exercise because I grew up playing soccer, and that was, running up and down the field and being outside. So that's all I knew how to exercise with.
Right.
And so having to exercise on my floor in my apartment, I'm like, this is awful. So just coming over that mental block that I'm like, you're not outside. You need us to keep trying though.
Hey, there are indoor soccer leagues. And I know for a fact there's indoor soccer leagues in the Salt Lake area where you live.
I do too.
I signed up for one. Go sign up for one. I'm issuing you another challenge.
I will think about that one.
Don't think about it. Do it. I think, you know what? That could be a good way to let out some of your aggression too.
It is.
Do a co-ed one. I feel like you might do well in a co-ed and let out some aggression.
Yeah, I know Gardner Village does one. I still get the emails because I signed up for one the first time I went to when I first moved to Utah, and then I just never went because I'm a scaredy cat. Right.
Okay, so I feel like you're definitely a feminist, and I like that. I am too, and it's nice to have another one in the family. Okay, so Talk to me about some strong women who have been influential in your life, other than like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Some women that you know personally.
That's a really good question.
Can you think of anybody? And it could be for different reasons. You know what I mean?
That sounds so bad.
You're really... This is a struggle for you, huh?
It is, just because I feel like I grew up in a very narrow perspective
Okay.
of women and what they do and things like that. But I do... one of my role models growing up was always my oldest sister, Annie, because she did what she wanted and she did what she was good at. And that meant a lot to me.
Do you think that was hard for her? Did she get a lot of backlash just growing up in that environment? You say you grew up in a very narrow...
Well, just like church leaders and stuff, like in general.
Okay.
And just, I thought my life was, I was going to get married really young and have kids because that's what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And so...
Is that what you were taught growing up? Is that what you were encouraged to do?
Yeah, that's whatever. Like, I remember one of my young women's leaders, Sister Colton. Oh, I can't remember.
She was clearly very influential.
I'm a terrible human being.
You're not, you're honest.
She was so impressed that I wanted to like go to school and do something, because we did grow up with the mentality that you're going to school. Like it wasn't an option not to go to college. Like you're going, everyone is going to college.
Right.
And she was just so impressed.
Two girls. So there's 5 kids.
Yes.
2 boys and 3 girls.
Yeah.
The youngest boy is still at college age, so he's still going to go through. We know he'll finish. Yeah. But Davey, my husband, and you and your sisters have all graduated college. That's remarkable. Your mom. Let's talk about your mom, and let's talk about her. Okay.
Yeah. She is a strong lady.
I love your mom.
We disagree on a lot of stuff.
You do. You disagree. You may have different opinions.
Yes.
But talk to me about her. I'm extremely proud of her and what she's accomplished in the last 5 years. Okay?
Oh my gosh. Before she came, she was like, Rachel, do not cuss on this because your kids will listen to it. And I was like, Mom, I learned cussing from you. Mostly my dad, but I learned from my mom. Her favorite phrase growing up was out, damn spot. And it took me way too long to realize it's from Macbeth and not just a thing she says.
I've never heard her say that.
Yeah. She'd be like, get out, damn spot. When you're on her spot on the couch, she'd be like, get out, damn spot.
That's cute. That's cute. So your mom tell us a little bit about your mom, okay?
So
just her upbringing, and then I want to just kind of dive into her journey and where she's gotten now. Okay. You must be extremely proud.
I'm so proud of her.
Okay, let's talk about it.
She's the second oldest out of 4 kids from Provo, Utah. She married my dad when she was 18. I remember growing up that she would get jobs and then she'd quit them because she wasn't at home and she felt guilty for missing our soccer or our basketball games. And so she sacrificed a lot so she could be at home with us and involved with us. Right before, when we were getting older, she decided that she wanted to do something. And so she decided she was going to go to nursing school. And she got in once, but my little brother was still like 6th grade maybe. And she turned down that opportunity so she could still be at home and until he was more self-sufficient. That's when she would go. And so we went into high school. That's when she decided that she could go to nursing school and that he'd be okay. And so she graduated in 2013 because I was still on my mission. So was it 2013 or 2014? I think it's 2013 or 12. I don't know. She graduated. Congrats, Mom. She graduated with her RN, but then she also went to Grand Canyon University to graduate with her Bachelor's of Science as well. And then last couple of months, she got care certified at a big conference in Denver. So not only is she has her education, but she's still continuing to improve and things like that, which is amazing because I deal when it's an older student, we call them non-traditional students. And so I've seen how they can struggle and they don't know how to use, Canvas or how to turn in a Word document and or open a Word document. And so I've seen a lot of my older non-traditional students struggle, and I know that was my mom. I know that was her at one point in time, because she still asks me, she's like, how do I Google on my phone? So I'm like, you finished school online, you're amazing. Can't even use your phone? Woo! She asked me how to do a screenshot one day, and I'm like, what? But she's worked really hard.
She has.
She's worked really hard to be more independent and self-sufficient. And I think that's meant a lot to her.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's been a major adjustment in the home because for so many years, she probably didn't feel like she was smart enough or she felt like she only had one place in this world. Maybe not that she wasn't smart enough. Your mom's very brilliant. Yeah. She knows her history. She knows a lot. Your mom is a very brilliant person.
And a really good cook.
And a very good cook. She is awesome. But I just feel like maybe her going back to school and becoming a nurse and having her career has given her more confidence and probably changed the dynamic in the home.
Yeah, I think it's given her more of an identity because before, she was always our mom. She quit jobs so she could be a mom. Right. And now she gets to be Laura.
Right.
And I think that's awesome.
Exactly. And she's still the best mom and the most fantastic grandma. And she gets to be Laura.
Yeah.
And you can have it all. Yeah. You can be all of those things. You can. And it's been fun. It's been so fun for me to watch that progression with your mom. So I would dare to say, again, I don't want to put...
She is a strong lady and inspirational in my life. But, Mom, I'm going to cuss because I can.
You're an adult.
Shit, hell, damn it.
You're an adult. You know what? I actually recently, I was in my office and somebody came into my office and we were talking about kids, raising kids and whatnot. And, I know who it was. So anyway, he was talking about how he tries not to cuss in front of his kids, but he does anyway. Like, it's just natural, and I do it too. But he said what he's really been trying to do is when he slips and cusses and his kids call him out, he says it's not a bad word because he doesn't want his kids to think that he's bad. It's an adult word. So you don't say this. This is an adult word. But it was just fascinating to hear that perspective, right?
Yes.
And so I actually used that the other day with Cece because I said something. I said, why do I love you so much? She's like, because we're just so damn cute. And I said, Cece, don't say that. She's like, but that's what you always say. And I said, yes, I say that. That's an adult word. You don't say it. But it was pretty dang cute.
The other day, I was watching Cece, and my mom had just came home, and Cece fell off the couch, and she was like, damn it. And I was like, what'd you say? And she was like, I said banana.
Like, she caught her.
She was trying to cover it up, and I'm like, wait, what? She's like, well, why don't you repeat what I said? And I was like, you're not going to get me to cuss, you sly dog.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, I do want my girls. I don't want my girls to be trashy. You know me. I don't love potty talk. I don't like the fart humor. And, a lot of people find that funny. But I will admit, I have a bad mouth. It's just... I have always cussed, and I think I come by it naturally. It's in the genes. But I don't want my girls to. And they already have, obviously, and it's my fault. Davey doesn't really cuss that much. Yeah. But I want them to be classy. I really don't want them to be super trashy with the potty mouth. I don't want my kids to. Yeah. And I'm not saying, that's another thing. That's why I liked my friend's perspective is because... Okay, no, I don't want my kids just to think if somebody is smoking or somebody is choosing to say a bad word that they're bad people, a cuss word that they're bad people.
Because my least favorite thing is when you're walking to the grocery store and someone's smoking and someone like starts coughing up a lung to like make them feel bad. And I'm like, they know it's bad. Exactly. Leave them alone.
Exactly.
But I just remember like in like waiting for the bus, like little fourth graders were saying mother... something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're in fourth grade.
Yeah,
I remember when jerk was a bad word. I remember
Right.
when Millie called me a jerk, and I'm like, how dare you? Like, that was the worst thing you could have called me at this moment in my life was a jerk.
Yeah.
And now I say worse things.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But you're not a
at
bad
people. I don't call people things.
That's
so.
good. That's good. Okay. Any other influential women in your life?
No, but not women, but a couple. So the Nisbets from Elko, Nevada, I think are some of the loveliest people that I've ever met in my life. They're
The Nisbets?
The Nisbets, like from
That's a cool name.
Toy Story. Like, I'm Mrs. Nesbit.
Yeah.
Fine, it's watch Toy Story and you'll get it. They have such a wonderful relationship. They're really happy people. It's hard to describe, but I saw them at the Josh Groban concert. So when we released the first podcast, we talk a lot about Josh Groban, and I saw them when I was at the Josh Groban concert in October, and they are just the happiest people that I think they're best friends first, and then they're like parents and whatever, but their relationship and their dynamic is they're best friends, and it's on mutual respect. That's what I aspire for
In your future relationship.
Yeah. And she went back to school because that's what she wanted to do. She's really strong, and I admire her for that.
Neat. We've talked a lot about women, and now I'm glad you brought up this couple, the Nisbet. So let's bring men into this conversation, okay?
Yes.
How do you feel about men in general? Is some of that anger that you hold on to, is a lot of that geared towards men?
I think yes, because when there's a TED Talk that's when it says you talk about gender issues, men automatically associate it with women's issues, so they tune out of the conversation. So I just finished this really great book about women, Mormon women, since then of polygamy, and my friend was asking me, she's like, do you really think any men are going to read that? And I'm like, no, but they should. And so I think it's that they're apathetic is what annoys me the most, because it's not directly affecting them. And I'm like, so it's not affecting me either right now, but I still care about it and want to help people. But I think it's more that apathy that comes with it. And I was going to say something else, but I forgot. What's your question again?
Is it going to come back? Just what you think about men in general. And is some of your anger, you talk about your anger that you hold on to, is some of that directed towards men? I
think what is it, the quote from Mary Poppins when she's like, individually we like men, but collectively we think they're idiots. It's something like that from the original Mary Poppins.
Jeff, how are you feeling right now? Jeff agrees. Oh, so this is men in general.
Yes. I want them to be better allies, but I don't know how to communicate with them to care. I mean, how do you make someone care when it's not affecting, like bring up the smokers? The smokers they know it's bad to smoke,
right?
But they're doing it anyways.
Right.
Like, how do you get someone to care enough to call to action when they've never felt it or experienced it, so it's not relevant, and they don't have the sympathy or the empathy to grasp it.
Right. But you know it's possible.
It's possible.
Because look at the Nisbets. Yes. I just want to keep saying it because I love the name.
I love the Nisbets. Shout out to the Nisbets. Their kids are awesome.
They're the shiz.
Awesome.
I want to say the shiz, the Nisbets.
No, they are the shit. I met her mom when we went to the temple once. She's a delight. Like, the whole damn family.
But you see them as an example and that mutual respect. And so you know it's possible.
Yeah. I know it's possible. So you and Davey are great examples because you're vocal and, you never shy away from saying what you want, but you work together.
Yeah.
And even though Davey has asked me what intersectional means like 3 times, for those of you who don't know what intersectional means, it's regarding like feminism. It's not just white feminists, but it's people of color, trans people, everything like that, disabilities. It's representing all, so everyone can be included. And he's asked me that, like, every time he sees my water bottle, he's like, what does that mean? And then he rolls his eyes, and I'm like, you dumb butt, you're married to Amy.
I do always take pride when I hear you say, and who are you married to? I always take pride in that. But no, Davey's a good guy. But I am very fortunate because he is very supportive of me, and he never makes me feel stupid when I when I question him or I challenge things.
Yeah.
Like, he's never made me feel stupid. In fact, lately I've been having a lot of deep conversations with him about certain things that very personal to me.
Yeah.
And he always says, Amy, I support you either way. It's whatever you decide to do. I support you either way. I'm here. It's not going to change. And I'm just so grateful for that, because I truly believe he does.
Yeah.
Like, he respects me. It's that respect that you talked about. You're smiling. You got a big grin. What are you
That
thinking?
thing where it's like you get to make that decision, that's a Riter thing, because our parents would tell us that growing up. They're like, if you prayed about it and you read your scriptures, then you make the decision. Like, they never influenced us to do something. They always made us like, you decide.
That's
you
good.
decide what it is. And so I can just see that like coming out in Davey, like, you know what you're doing. You get to make the decision.
Yeah, we'll teach you. We'll give you the tools.
Yeah.
And you run with it. But that's a very good thing. That's a great way to empower your kids. Yeah. And hopefully we can do that with
so
ours.
it's just funny that I'm like, oh, Davey, you're doing it.
Yeah. So anyway, but it is very nice to have a very respectful husband.
Yeah.
So I love what you said earlier. You said, I'm not going to settle. You're 27 years old. You're single. By the way, you're very young. In the real world, you're a baby.
Yeah,
Let's be real.
But
don't settle, and you won't. But you will find that person that respects you. You know what you want, and you're going to get it.
Yeah. Hopefully. Knock on wood.
You will.
Either way, I will either move to New York and travel a lot or other things.
Okay, so what else do you want out of life other than eventually getting married and having kids? What else do you want out of life?
I would like to travel a lot more. I've only been to London, Paris, and Guatemala, so I'd like to go to Italy and see the things that I've studied in art history. Travel a lot more. I do want to volunteer more because I liked volunteering. It's empowering. I want to improve my Spanish a lot more because you heard me speak Spanish this week and you're like, was that even Spanish? Just
Whatever. Spanish is good.
And so I'd like to improve my Spanish. I don't know. I'm doing a lot of goals right now.
I just had an epiphany.
Yes.
I know what you need to do. You need to go overseas and be a librarian in an international school. For example, the school that I graduated from, the International School Nido de Águilas in Santiago, Chile. They have an American school. Go down there. Go be a librarian in some school. It could be an American school or in an international school in a foreign country. That would be, I could see you doing that.
I know. I've looked into it. I think the organization that posts all the jobs is like TIE or something like that. TIE. I've looked into it. There's not a lot of jobs.
Right.
But I have 100%
if one comes
locked
up,
into
I could
it.
see you doing that.
Me and my best friend, she's a 4th grade teacher and they're done in May. And we're like, should we just go teach English in Korea? That's our solution to everything, is going to teach English in Korea. I remember I got accepted into a program in China once, and my dad was like, if you get captured over there, we're not going to come and get you. If you get stolen, we're not going to come and look for you. And I'm like, okay, great.
You know that is not the case.
Right.
Your dad would move mountains.
But he was just like, my friend had a daughter, and they still don't know where she is. And I'm like, okay.
That's upsetting.
Right, but that's my dad's rationale for everything.
Okay, so outside of traveling,
yes,
learning Spanish, enhancing your Spanish. What else?
I think I do want to do something with young girls and like self-esteem, because I feel like I don't want little girls to go through what I did. Granted, I've had a very cushy life. I am white, middle class, heterosexual, like the epitome, like the world was meant for me.
Right.
Very privileged. But I don't want other little girls to go through that. And so something with literacy, and I also want to do something in the STEM field, because I think we should get more women and diversity in the STEM field. I might go get a second master's depending on where I get another job, if I'm at a different university and they would pay for it, or at least half of it, discount. So maybe another master's.
Can you go back to STEM? Dive into a little to that for those listening that are not familiar with STEM.
Yes. So there's 2 different definitions for STEM depending on, I gotta make sure I have it. There's STEM, that's STEM, STEM, and then there's STEM, that is STEAM. So it's science, technology, engineering, and math.
Okay.
And if it's the A, it's science, technology, and engineering, art, and math.
Okay.
So they're including art in it because in the Smithsonian Magazine a couple of weeks ago, they published an article about how doctors in England are prescribing dance lessons and art lessons to people to cope with like anxiety and depression and stuff. It's that interaction, you know. I feel better when I exercise.
Right.
So that's their prescription, is to go and do a physical activity with other people. And I think that's amazing. And I think it, you know, is a test to the power of art and humanities and things like that. So including that in science and engineering and math, I think is really powerful.
That is awesome.
So I prefer STEM. That's STEAM.
So more like STEAM.
Yeah.
Let's get this. Yeah. Very cool. I was going to ask you, but I feel like you've probably already answered, but I'm going to pose the question and you're going to answer. If you could start up a foundation, any foundation, which foundation would you start up? Because I feel like you're very much into helping people and volunteering. And this is just like, you need to start up a foundation. Yes. What will your foundation be?
I don't know. Because like, I'm really passionate about literacy, and I'm really passionate about, you know, helping girls and empowering women and education. I don't know.
So it has to be around. I feel like you need to, again, I always tend to, I'm not going to put the words in your mouth, but I feel like it should be a foundation starting with little girls.
Yeah.
And you can carry it through to adults.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not the most versed person on, you know, gender studies or implicit biases or anything like that. Like, I'm still learning, and I know I say things wrong, but I think it is an interesting conversation that does need to happen. I mean, I was talking to a distant relative, and they're like, social justice isn't a thing. And I'm like, what did you say, asshole? Because social justice is a thing. It's trying to create, you know, true equality and equity for people. And so I'm still learning, but at least I believe it's a thing.
It's a thing,
you know?
Yes. Absolutely.
But I don't know what foundation. I know, like, the hurricane in Puerto Rico and stuff, like, some of their libraries are totally ruined and they need books and stuff like that. So I don't know. I need to dream bigger. So this is a very good reflection for me.
You've mentioned the word literacy several times throughout this podcast, and obviously being the librarian. Dive deeper into that.
Okay, so we all know that literacy is like the ability to read and stuff. So I teach information literacy, which is how you find and use information. But then it goes on to financial literacy. So how do you, you know, budget and use money? And then there's health literacy. Do you know how to access health information, or where you can go get shots and stuff like that? And then there's media literacy. So all the news, fake news and stuff like that. So that's why it's great to be a librarian, because we jump off on information literacy, and it opens the conversation to financial and health and media and digital literacy. So you're fluent and you're able to navigate these different areas. So it starts with understanding information, and then it's breaking it off into specific groups.
So it helps them immensely throughout all paths of life.
And so, but because students are so unique and special, we can only sometimes get to information literacy because it's still a grade to them and they don't see the larger repercussions, but that's okay. We are starting off somewhere.
So that's why your foundation needs to focus on literacy.
Yes. All the different aspects of it.
All the different channels of literacy. Rachel, I want you to start a foundation at some point. Seriously.
I need to pay off my student loans first.
But start drafting it. Why do you have to pay off your student lones first? Why can't you get started?
Money.
You can start thinking it up, right? Drafting, and you just pitch it to people. There's a lot of money available, right? There are a lot of resources. You need to pitch it.
Yeah, I do. It's the YWCA Utah. So it's eliminating racism and empowering women. I've put my I've put my info with them to volunteer because the University of Utah librarians, part of the thing that they have to do for like tenure and stuff is that they created a library for that specific organization. So they got books because, it's a place where women can go and seek help and bring their children.
Right.
And so they noticed a library was missing. And so they got, donations. And I think that's where I can start off.
Do it.
Is looking at small organizations.
Absolutely.
Where I can start getting books together. Because,
exactly.
Whether it's, like a Clifford book, like it's important that it's there for like the moms and the children and stuff like that.
I love that. It's beautiful. Talk to me about the email you sent me the other day about my favorite, Dolly Parton, and her foundation.
So it's the American Library Association. Yes, we have an association. Libraries are very organized. But it was just an article with Dolly Parton because her charity, I can't remember what it is, but she's given away over 1 million free books to children because she believes in the power of literacy. She doesn't have any kids, but she believes in the power of books. She told stories how they didn't have any books growing up, so they go to the library and stuff like that, and just how transformative it was because her dad wasn't educated at all.
I don't think her dad could read.
I agree. I don't think he could read, and she saw that happen to him, and so she makes sure that there's kids can always have a free book.
Right. I love that. In fact, I remember hearing an article. It may have been during her concert because she tells a lot of stories and talks a lot during her concerts, which is fantastic. May have been during that, or I may have read an article, but she talked about that, and her dad couldn't read. But she talks about how proud her dad was of her because she was doing this before he passed.
Yeah.
And that brought him so much joy. And I just thought that's such a beautiful thing that she's done. You know what? Yeah, you're still paying off student loans. You may not be making as much money as you would like right now, but that doesn't matter. There are resources available, and it doesn't take a ton of money to make a difference.
That's true.
So you've got it, Rachel.
You got to dream bigger.
It's in you. It's in you, honestly.
I agree. Thank you for making me reflect on my life goals because I really needed to do that.
No, I'm serious, but I really am excited for you. I really think you need to think seriously.
I'm really writing a note.
Okay, good.
I'm not being rude. I'm going to write a note.
Good.
To dream bigger and look into foundations that I can help with literacy with.
Right, absolutely. And then I think a lot of times is when we go outside of ourselves and we see past, and I'm not saying you don't see past your own notes, because you do. Clearly, you've demonstrated that throughout this this interview. But when we tend to look outside of ourselves, see past our own nose, and focus on others, it makes us happier. And I think that does build our own self-confidence too.
I mean, because that's my alternative to helping and volunteering. I'm going to be at my house watching TV. I can either be out doing good, or I can be rewatching the same episode of like 30 Rock.
And you know what? It is all a balance because there's
no
shame in
because I still do that.
The show.
But like, I don't need to do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly. What is your biggest challenge as you try to reach your goals?
Probably self-esteem, doubting myself too much.
Really?
You're married to Davey. You know the writers don't have great self-esteem. And it's just that doubting ourselves that we're not smart enough or good enough. And so working on I can do it. So telling myself that I can do it. I mean, because I apply to a lot of places and you have to write cover letters and it's why are you good enough to work here? And so having to describe yourself why you're good enough is always really hard.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
So what are you doing or what are you going to do to continue to build your self-esteem?
Tell myself I'm good.
Tell yourself you're good.
Yeah.
And just get out there and do something.
Right.
Get out there and do it.
And correcting myself when I say super critical things. I mean, your sister-in-law was just in here an hour ago and she's like, what do I have to talk about? You have a lot to talk about. You're a person who's had life experiences.
Exactly.
And so it's catching myself when I say things, but also my friends and other people that we're not allowed to say negative things about ourselves.
Right. And I think that's a very good point. When you build others up, that's going to help build yourself up too. I love that. That's a very, very good point. Going back, you said to the writers, be married to writers, self-esteem. When Davey and I got married, there are a lot. I feel like he is a confident person, but with certain things, he did kind of struggle with his self-esteem. And I don't think he'd get mad at me for saying this because he's awesome. He's incredibly brilliant.
I mean, he's going through his master's really well.
He works full time. He's doing a master's, but he's just one that needs a little push and a little encouragement. But once he gets going, he goes, and he's doing so awesome. But I feel very fortunate to be a part of the Riter family. Being married to Davey's been awesome. Well, Rachel, I think you're fantastic.
Thank you.
Honestly, you know I'm a huge fan.
Thanks.
I have always been a huge fan. But I know you're already doing so many great things.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome when I hear you talk about how you've gone out and volunteered with immigrants and just getting yourself out there. It's very inspiring to me.
Yeah.
And I need to get out there and do more things. And not just for me, but I want my daughters to see me doing these types of things too.
Yeah.
And I want to get them out. I mean, they're 4 and 7 and they can still make a difference at this.
Yeah.
Like even just being so little, just something so simple, but just teaching my girls at a young age to get out there and think of people other than themselves, right? So you're very inspirational in that sense. So I
have a lot of time on my hands, so I got to stay busy. So might as well help people.
Well, yeah, and clearly you have a lot of aspirations.
Yeah.
You want a lot out of life, and there's no reason why you shouldn't just go for it.
Yeah.
So hopefully you end up in New
Self-esteem
York.
boost for everyone. Go for it. Words of Amy. Dive in and go for it.
That's right. Dive in. But you're clearly capable, and I know you're going to accomplish everything that you've set your heart out to do.
Thanks for the self-esteem boost. This has been good.
No, it's been a pleasure for me you've been very inspirational to me too. Anything else that you want to dive in on? Any particular topic that you're just dying to address? Because you are very opinionated.
Yes.
You have an opinion, which is a good thing. I'm not criticizing you. But do you want to dive into anything else before we wrap this episode up?
Can we talk about how excited we are for 2-hour church?
When it goes down to 1 hour, we will talk.
I saw something like an ornament that said I'd survived the 3-hour block from 1980 to 2018. I'm like, I did too. Congratulations. So I'm just excited about that.
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting because we're seeing a lot of changes in the world, right?
Yeah.
A lot of changes just in the Me Too movement and just with so many things. But it's interesting to see it in, obviously,
A
the
religious
government.
environment.
And then in your religion, and I'm sure it's not just in our religion, we're seeing it in other religions, but it's just fascinating to see the progression.
Yeah.
And hopefully we continue to move into
Because I think a really common thing is accountability. Like the Me Too movement is about accountability, and we want our political leaders to be more accountable. And with the 2-hour church, parents are now more accountable for the spiritual learning that happens within their family. And so I think accountability is a great thing no matter what field it's happening in.
Right. That's awesome. So let us all be more accountable. And I'm going to hold you accountable for your foundation.
Ooh, okay, good thing I know Jeff because he does a lot of good stuff.
Jeff does do a lot of good stuff. Shout out to Jeff.
Hey, congrats.
All right, Jeff, we're done.